Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of React Daily. Sorry I actually missed out on yesterday, or 2 days ago was it? I was catching my plane flight, so I couldn't upload a video. But back at it again, still bringing you guys content. In this one, I want to show you guys how to make a drag and drop zone and to display like an image or something without input. The idea is, well, first of all, let me show you guys the demo. You drag and drop an image. When you drag it over, it says drop it like it's hot. You drop it, and it shows the preview image. That is a face of mine. Let me see. If I drop this, it shouldn't work. Let me drop something else. Anyways, and here's the idea. This drag and drop zone, we're gonna create a component of the drag and drop zone that can include stuff in it. So it's just gonna be like a little this drag and drop zone is gonna be like a little container, and we can see it being a container by here, right? Whatever we put between the drag and drop zone, we're actually including its children in it. So when we're actually writing using the component, it looks something like this: drag and drop, and then whatever inside you want to put, you put in here. So this whole thing here is a drag and drop zone. Anyways, and otherwise we're just gonna be using the basic JavaScript drag functions. Drag events. This example is totally copied from. I think I copied it from some Medium article. I'll find it now. I'll post it down below. And this probably isn't optimized because it's using refs and like plain JavaScript to add event listeners instead of using the synthetic React events, right? Like I believe for drag enter, drag leave, drag over, just like on drag enter, on drag leave, and on drop or something like that. But I don't know why the guy implemented it like this, but if it works, it works, right? And it does work perfectly. I still haven't encountered a single error. So, by the way, if you want me to shut up, you can look down in the YouTube video. In the description, I probably put a timer of where I skip all this talk and just get to the code. But first of all, a few problems that we can just witness, that we can just see. Right, we have the drag in detection, and we have the drag out detection. Now, when you are, I actually got to remove a line of code to show this. So, therefore, when we drag in, obviously something's got to happen, and in this case, a state is going to change, and that in turn is going to render this drop it like it's hot text, right? But how do we determine this dragging? How do we determine that our application is indeed dragging? Now, we can do it with. Now we can just say that when we handle drag in, you will think that we can just do handle drag in. When we detect that something's in, we change the state to be dragging is true, and then when the dragging is out, the state is going to be changed to false. That might seem to be the parent, but that's not the full answer, because drag in and drag out is not exactly. Is laid out to be so that every single one of these elements inside of the drag and drop zone actually has its own drag in and drag out detection. So like that right there, that drop image here right there, when I do, let me actually just open the console for more information. When I'm dragging in this whole thing, it's going to be showing drag over, whatever. Yeah, that's right, we're dragging over. But then when we enter the drop image here, actually drop image here is not inside of the, is it inside of the, give me a second, sorry. It is inside. Oh man, where's my image? Yeah, so the thing is that when we when we're dragging, so we're in this zone, but when we're dragging and leaving this text inside of the zone, it's also detecting and dragging it in and dragging out. So if we were to just set the dragging in, dragging out to be whenever it enters and then leaves the element, which will be every single one of the element, it's going to look a little bit buggy. This is what it's going to look like. I didn't think it would be this buggy, but yeah, indeed it's going to be a little bit buggy. But we solved that with some drag counter later on. It's really simple implementation, but for now, let me just delete everything and shut the hell up so we can get to it. It's actually only been 5 minutes. I felt like I was talking for about perhaps 6 minutes. I don't know. Okay, so let me delete everything. So that we can implement everything from the scratch. But I of course have my reference next to me. Anyways, by the way, for this thing right here that can display, oh god, I deleted my thing, didn't I? But earlier we were able to see the image being displayed. Now that's handled somewhere else. That's handled with this thing right here. But that is not in the context of this video, but you can definitely check out the last React Daily video that talked about previewing image upload. Viewing the image after it is uploaded as a file. Okay, so I gotta have my reference next to me. We're gonna create a reference that is going to be given to our drag and drop div, the big div, because with the reference we can manually, we can use native JavaScript to give it event listeners, and then we can just have just do state. I don't want to create a constructor, too lazy. And our first dragon of course equals to false. Okay. So when the component mounts, so when this component is created, component did mount, this drag counter, which will what if I implement this afterwards? Yeah, let me implement this afterwards. But for now, let div equals to let's big div. I like that name. Drop ref.currents, so we get access to the reference, and then we say div actually big div dots add event listener. The first event listener is drag enter. Let's just say this dot handle drag enter, and we can copy and paste this 3 times. And this one is going to be, there's a drag enter, and of course there's going to be a drag leave, right? We're going to detect when the there's of course going to be drop, right? When we drop, we want to do something. And actually we don't need to implement the dragging just yet. Okay. Then let me and then I'm not gonna write this part, but since we're using native JavaScript, when the component mounts, it is best to remove the event listeners here, and you guys can scroll back to the beginning of the video to see how the person did it, because I didn't write this code. That's what I'm saying, the person. I'm not referring to myself, that would be stupid. There's no render statement, Okay, return. So here's a big div. Big div, let's give it a style of what? I'm in the international English mode. That's what I was typing accents. Position equals to relative. I don't know why it's relative for now. Oh yeah, it's relative. It's going to be relative because right here. Okay, first of all, let me do this. Actually, before that, whatever we're rendering, because this is like a container, right? We can imagine this as a container. We have to contain the children of, so whatever lies between the drag and drop zones are its children. So I have to render it like that. And I actually didn't know about children until I did this very example. Like you don't just usually write components that are used as containers. Okay. So if we are dragging, if we can, if it is sensed that we dragged something over this, right? We want to drop it like it's hot, everything show up. So that is going to be the so here's the styling of those components. Border equals to dashed gray 1 pixel, as we can see earlier. Background color. Alright. Position absolute. Absolute because if we do a relative, we cannot overlay. If we do a relative, we cannot overlay this. I don't know how to describe this, man. This dashed border thing, right? Over the other elements. So it has to be absolute. And since this is absolute, but we want to place it right here, the parent component of that has to be relative. Yeah, and then z index, give it a high z index so that it renders on top of everything else. Okay, so this only shows up if it is dragging. I think that's an extra div. But inside of that border thing, there's a text, drop it like it's hot. And here's what it looks like. Let me give a span. Drop it like it is hot. Go back to the div style. This one is still going to be absolute. Alright, so we move it from, so top is referring to only this distance right here, so we're moving it to about here. And then right 0, right 0, left 0 would tell it to, along with text align. I believe along with text align tells the div to position the text in the middle. So I don't think just with text align doesn't work. You can just do color gray, whatever. Font size 36. Alright, so this is an exact replica of the one earlier. Oh man. Did I give this a ref? No, I did not. This dot drop ref. Okay, and let me set the dragging to true at first to see if we. Yeah, so it is showing right now, and the border is a little bit thin, and you can change it with the 1px here. You can change it to 4 if you want. So right now it's not going to be detecting dragging, obviously. Well, it is. It has event listener, but after detecting the thing, we haven't implemented handle drag enter whatsoever. So, with that being said, let's change it back to false, and let's start implementing events. First of all, let's write the event names. Okay. Let's make it an error function so that we don't have to bind it in the constructor. Let me just write every single one of them first. handle drag leave has in the event object. I don't think we need it, but let's just do it anyways. Handle drop, of course, for handle drop, it is really intuitive that we need the events because we're gonna be the event contains the file that we're dropping, the thing that we drag. Okay, so let's detect. How about let's detect the drop first, right? Because that's probably the most important thing. The drop, the intern and leave is just visual, but the drop is actually what you have to have. So we have to do e.prevent default at first, because by default, if I'm not wrong, it is gonna a page by default. If you drag something onto it, just gonna just gonna do that. Oh, I just showed you guys my resume. I mean it's gonna show up like that. So you do prevent default to stop it from doing that, and then you do whatever you want. So in our case, here's the exact code you have to copy. So as we're copying, if you mess with input and image a lot, you know that usually we have an input, and then when we upload it, we use event.target.files and the first index of the files array if it's a single file to handle to get the image data. But before the dropping is a little bit different, I guess. It's gonna be event.datatransfer.files. I think I tried using event.target.files before, it did not work, and I have no idea why. But let's just do that, right? We just kind of have to do this, and then this file's index 0 handle drop. So we're gonna, when we actually write it, we have to implement this function, and then this thing right here is immediately, if it's an image, you can immediately create an object URL on it to be able to display it. If you put that if you create an object URL, set that as the source of another image, you're going to be able to display whatever. So it's kind of like the same as event.target.files. It's basically the same thing. And then of course, if we drop something, that means we're probably not dragging something. So dragging is going to be false. Okay, so unexpected use of event. Okay, so let's pass an event here. Oh, what did I do? 65 or 65? So if I implemented things perfectly, that means when I drop something here, it should show up. Okay, did I prevent defaults? Handle drop. Okay, so handle drop. I think I spelled this right. Now if I didn't spell it right, it should throw an error. Forgot about this. Dude, I don't know why, but on the plane, got off the plane. I slept for a long time, but I'm extremely tired still, and also my eyes, I just can't, they're just so sore. I mean, a lot of it is sore largely because I contributed that with playing video games, but it is still very sore. Sorry, that doesn't provide any value to our discussion of React here, but just want to let you know. Just want to let you know why I'm squinting my eyes so much. I can't see this, dude. Man. Oh, man. So, to be honest, I don't even know why you have to do this, but... okay. Where is this? 5 is undefined. Huh, you're saying that this is undefined? Okay, I typed it wrong. Why did I type target? I literally said to you guys, we're not using target here. And I used it. Okay. Yeah, so that works. I think just for some reason, if you don't prevent default for drag over, if you drop it, it's actually gonna, the drag over is somehow gonna affect it. Yeah, so if I delete this thing right here, it's gonna do this, which is really odd, right? Because that event with me dropping seems to be just be the default of a drop of the drop event, but somehow drag over has something to do with it. I might search in the docs. I might search in the docs later to see what this event is truly about and why it does that. And if I do, it's gonna be in the YouTube description below. So right now, let me see again. This should work. Let me see how much time. Oh, I've been on for 20 minutes. This is insane. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Let me just get things popping. Been talking junk too much. Okay, so when we drag an enter, let's do this drag counter plus plus. So whenever we enter any elements inside of the drop zone, we're gonna add 1 to the drag counter, and this. Oh, we're also gonna detect if there's actually anything along with it, along being dragged. If so, dragging goes true. And when we leave, so here's where the drag counter is about to play, is coming to play. When we leave, of course, no, we minus 1 to the drag counter, but because if this dot let me get this done first before explaining stuff. So this should work by now, but I don't know why it's still doing that buggy stuff. I'm gonna explain everything in a second. Perhaps it is because I didn't do event dot. I doubt this, but maybe. It's just a safe practice to do a permanent default because we know we're gonna be overriding stuff. Oh man. Okay, that's weird. Give me a second, please. So tired. Reminds me of the Gordon Ramsay thing where he said, this steak or something. This steak, so tender. Drag over. Yeah, I'm really not coordinated right now. I didn't even say coordinated correctly. E dot Japan. Wait. Oh. Oh, I didn't forgot about this, man. Come on. Forgot to instantiate the drag counter at the beginning. So that just worked right there. Now let me explain what just happened and why do we need drag counter exactly again. So without drag counter, the reason that's going to go glitchy is because it is constantly, right, the glitchy and the border and the whatever the normal image is determined by the state of dragging. And if we were to just set dragging equals to false and whenever, the problem is that when the screen, so when the new border pops up, that counts as like going to a new element. So we're basically, I don't know if yeah, let me just remove this to tell you guys what's going on. And also, if you're done with the video, you just want to get this over with, you're done. Like, I'm not gonna explain more. Yeah, it's gonna be like this because you know, the second that we drag stuff in, the dragging screen pops up, and it's going to treat it as, and then when the dragging screen pops up, our mouse enters a new object, right, the one that just popped up, and that treats as that we're leaving the old object. And this works for every single element for the in the div, right? This handle, drag, leave, it's implemented for every single one of them. And so we're just basically stuck in a loop of dragging in, of the dragging screen popping up and then the leaving screen popping up. Versus if we have this hard measure here to say that if the drag counter is greater than 0, then we just don't do anything, and that determines that we're just going to be staying inside of here. And this drag counter is indeed as calculated, right? That if it's in here, it's going to forever be, if our dragon item is in here, it's forever going to be greater than 0 until we drop it or when we move it out, right? When we move out of the parent derivative. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and if you liked it, thank you. See ya.